And today we have to do everything possible to see that this planet and its ecosystems, its natural resources are protected and conserved in such a way that they not only benefit the current generation, but would be able to ensure the opportunity to benefit for future generations as well. In my view, transformative leadership is going to be crucial. And in that regard, what is going to be particularly vital is the need to see that leadership acts on the basis of knowledge. We are living in the 21st century, and everyone says that this century will be the century of knowledge. And in this context, it is critically important that knowledge on what we are doing to the global commons is understood and utilized by us in every possible manner. Here may I highlight the importance of dealing with the challenge of climate change. Over the period since industrialization began, we have added an enormous quantity of greenhouse gases in the Earth's atmosphere. As you're aware, prior to industrialization, we had 280 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Today, it is inching up to about 400 parts per million. Now, as a result of this, we have come up with the very clear conclusion in the fourth assessment report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, that warming of the climate system is unequivocal. We also concluded that most of the warming that had taken place since the middle of the last century was very likely on account of increase in the human-produced emissions of greenhouse gases, which have added to the concentration of these gases in the atmosphere. And when we use the term very likely, we are assigning a probability of over 90% to this statement. Transformative leadership, therefore, will have to now take into account the knowledge that has been generated by the scientific community. And I think in the 21st century, the science and policy interface is going to be of enormous importance in ensuring that we move towards a path of sustainable development, which is of benefit not only to this generation, but of course future generations as well. In the case of climate change, may I submit that some of the impacts that we are seeing today and which have been assessed by the IPCC and those that are projected to occur in the future are going to exacerbate some of the stresses that several communities and societies are facing today. And if we want to avoid, eliminate or delay some of these impacts, then it's going to be absolutely essential that we mitigate the emissions of greenhouse gases. What is particularly attractive about actions that are required to mitigate emissions and to reduce them in the future is the fact that the cost of some of these actions is becoming very low and in some cases actually negative. The IPCC AR4, the fourth assessment report, clearly brought out the fact that by 2030 we would have the potential for reduction of emissions of greenhouse gases to the extent of 6 gigatons per year of CO2 equivalent at negative cost. In other words, even in economic terms, we would benefit if we were to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases through some of the opportunities that add up to these 6 gigatons of potential. So what I would say is that we have knowledge available to us, and I think if we want to bring about transformation and if leadership is to exercise its responsibility in moving towards transformational pathway of development, then I think this knowledge has to be harnessed, it has to be utilized and converted into decisions that would enhance the welfare of human society. Not to do so would open us to the impacts of climate change, which could prove detrimental to the welfare of society across the globe. So I would say that leadership in the 21st century has to be knowledge-based leadership. It has to rely on the findings of science, and it has to ensure that science is an important part of decisions that are going to bring about the transformation that such leadership is attempting to bring about.